a fine American. He's a fine Montanan. He fights the fight for us all. He's with the Libertarian Party, and I don't know anybody in their right mind would be with the Democrats and Republicans anymore. So, Mr. Stan Jones, meet the family. Thank you. Hello, Kalispell, USA. How are you?
Hey, Stan. Good.
I'm happy to be here, and I want to thank KGEZ for inviting me today. Let's get something clear right from the very beginning. Forced vaccination against your will is against your constitutionally protected rights. No question about that. Not only is it against your constitutionally protected rights, it is a crime. You don't believe me? Look it up for yourself. 18 U.S. Code, Section 241, Section 242. Anyone in this country that tries to take your rights from you is guilty of a crime, even if taking those rights under the color of law is the situation. That is a crime. And to force you to take a vaccination, to put something in your body that you do not consent to have put there, is a violation of your rights and is a crime. Make no mistake about it. Nobody, anywhere, or anytime, under any circumstances in this country has the power or the right to immunize you or your children against your will and your conviction. Stand up for your rights. Make sure that you state your rights to anyone that tries to force an immunization on you. As a matter of fact, it might even be an assault with a deadly weapon. And you have the full resources of the judicial system that are supposed to back you up on that. Use your rights. Assert your rights. Tell anyone in the government that they are violating your rights. Now, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a doctor, and you've heard or you're going to hear from others who are more qualified to give you that kind of advice. But I will offer some tips on what you can do to protect yourself physically and legally based upon the research that I've done and the experience that I've had. First of all, how should you react to public officials? Don't harass or belittle or antagonize them. Don't elevate the crisis by doing those things. Up until now, there have been no compulsory vaccination laws. There is always an out. There is always a way to avoid a vaccination. And, however, this is new ground because we know that the law that they're contemplating is going to say that you will be required to take the vaccination. But you must assert that even if the law forces you to take it, the law itself will be unconstitutional. And you must assert that fact and tell them that what they are doing is contrary to your constitutional rights. I recommend that you research the Montana state law about how to get an exemption from a vaccination that might be required by government. And go ahead and request that exemption or waiver in compliance with the Montana law. The federal government cannot make those kinds of laws because those things are reserved to the state by the 10th Amendment. The only laws that they can make are laws requiring people to perhaps have a vaccination to cross state lines or to enter a foreign country or from a foreign country to America. In those cases, the federal government has some jurisdiction. But as long as you remain in the state of Montana, the federal government has no jurisdiction. So look up the Montana state laws and comply with them. They will provide for exemptions, and you should use those exemptions under the law to avoid any vaccination within the state of Montana. I also recommend that you start now by familiarizing the public officials who might be involved in the vaccination that it is unconstitutional, and that you will not stand for them violating your constitutional rights. Politely go to the public health office, local law enforcement agencies that might be involved, school administrators, those sort of people, and talk to them, discuss with them the fact that this is contrary to the Constitution. Discuss with them that if they have taken an oath of office, it's their obligation to conform with the Constitution, to support your constitutional rights. Explain to those public officials that they take an oath to uphold the Constitution in order to protect your rights. You know, most public officials don't know why they have to take the oath of office. The oath of office was put in the Constitution for the sole purpose of protecting your rights and protecting the establishment of constitutional government in this nation. Explain that to them. I carry a little printed card in my car, and whenever I cross a police officer, however that might happen, I give them this card. And the card says simply, why do you take the oath of office? To protect my rights. 1, if the legislature passes a law that is unconstitutional, as a police officer, you are required not to enforce that law. Now, if a police officer enforces that unconstitutional law by arresting you or fining you, then when you appear before the prosecutor is compelled not to prosecute because it is against your rights, and he has taken an oath to uphold the Constitution. Well, if it passes that stage and it gets to a judge, the judge is compelled to dismiss the case because it violates your rights, and he has taken an oath to uphold your rights. Now that's what this little card I have says, and I pass it out as frequently as I possibly can. And you might take the same action and do the same thing. Explain to your public officials that they would be violating your constitutional rights by forcing you to take this vaccination.